Hey Health Junkies, Dr. Kraus here. Just wanted to jump in and let you know about a new feature that I'm adding to the podcast. It's the ability to ask me questions. I've had a ton of folks tell me that they would love for me to cover their questions on the podcast, so I'm going to do it. So each week I will be adding a couple of questions that I'm going to answer to each of the podcasts. And if it's a juicy enough question, I just may dedicate a whole podcast to it. So if you're interested in asking a question, head on over to my website at drjkrausnd.com. Check out a blue button on the right-hand side that says Ask a Podcast Question. Hit me up there. Or you can also access the button through my podcast notes, also on my website. So head on over there, ask me some questions. I look forward to answering them soon. All right, let's get on with the podcast.
Hey, Health Junkies! It's time for The Health Fix. Join your host, Dr. Janine Kraus, as she gives you a dose of what you need to know and do right now to take control of your health from the inside out, to rebel against aging, look damn good, fight stress, and laugh every day.
Hello there, Health Junkies. Welcome to another episode of The Health Fix. I'm your host, Dr. Janine Kraus, and today's episode is all about how to boost your mood fast using my most favorite social experiment. So, what is it? It's smiling. Sounds really weird and sounds like, how can a smile really make that much of a difference? Well, if you haven't wiped off your RBF, so those of you that know what that means, resting bitch face, if you haven't wiped that off and smiled at a couple folks here in the last couple weeks, you're not spreading the love and you're not helping to boost your magic trio of oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. 3 magical neurochemicals that make you feel extremely happy. So where's this coming from? Why did I want to talk about this? Well, it's the holidays when I'm recording this, and I have noticed that a lot of people get really grumpy pants around the holidays, but sometimes people just get grumpy in general. Well, one of the things that I noticed in particular, and that's why I live in Tacoma. So all of you Seattle folks, I'm not hating on Seattle. I'm just saying that Seattle's a little bit of a cold place. People don't like to smile much nor look at you. But when you go to the airport or you go downtown Seattle and you look at every single person you possibly can and smile, it's awesome to watch how they react. A lot of times people just look down and be like terrified that you looked at them. But other people will be like, oh my gosh, hi, hello. I haven't seen anybody smile at me in like 2 years. That is why they call Seattle the Seattle Freeze, because people are kind of cold. It's weird. That's why I live in Tacoma. Hey. So there you have it. Now think about this for a minute. When's the last time you went into a store or restaurant and you met with either the hostess at the restaurant or you walked right up to the person who was at the desk at the hotel? If they were smiling and very warm, did you feel comfortable? Did you feel welcomed? Well, heck yeah, you did, because that little smile and that hello, even if it was sort of fake, it still helped you to feel welcome. Now, the more real that smile is, the more that you're going to feel welcome, and you're going to have more of a dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin release in your body. And that combination can help to lower your heart rate, your blood pressure, and it just calms you. In addition to that, the serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin are natural pain relievers, which is pretty darn awesome. And in my office, I like to have people smiling and happy all the time. And so I'm always working on that because, man, I have a feeling that a lot of us really just don't get enough of the serotonin and dopamine hits daily that we need to. So that being said, we might even actually be able to save money by smiling, because now frowns, it takes more muscles to frown than smile. You've probably heard that. But when you frown, you get a lot more wrinkles too. And you have to use more Botox to correct those wrinkles, so you could save money there. Now, the other side of it is that you're actually better looking when you smile. And I know this sounds weird, but it's totally true. There's been tons of different research studies out there. And it's kind of crazy. There was a research study from the Journal of Neuropsychology that found that you're viewed as attractive, reliable, relaxed, and sincere when you smile, which is pretty darn cool. Now, what's happening in this action of a smile? when you crack a smile, the person that sees you is going to either do two things. One, they're going to smile back at you, or two, they're going to look away and be like, oh my gosh, who's that freak? Now, the person who looks away and doesn't take in your smile, they're missing out. But when you have that brief moment of connection between two smiling faces, you're going to elicit a response in your orbital frontal cortex. So this is like the part above your eyebrows in your brain. And that area senses rewards. So when you view a person smiling at you, it's like you just got a reward. And so it's almost like playing a video game in a way, but really connecting with real people and not hiding behind a computer. Now, as I see more and more people coming into my office depressed, fatigued, in pain, I can't help but wonder if some of our society of being hidden behind computers is somewhat causing this. Now, there has been research done on the benefits of getting likes on Facebook and likes on Instagram and loves and etc. And that gives you the same amount of reward gratification dopamine hit as a smile. But I can't help but think that the face-to-face connection is where it's at. And I haven't found any research that compared social media likes and interaction compared to face-to-face smiling and connection. So as soon as I find it, I will let you know. Now, here's a very interesting study. There is a Scandinavian journal who is out of Helsinki. They are Finnish, so they are doing a study on dogs. And turns out that the University of Helsinki researchers found that the dog's mind can also produce quite a lot of oxytocin. So the brain produces a lot of the neurochemical oxytocin in response to a smiling human face. And so I can't help but think that this is one of the key factors in the interaction between getting affection from your dog and also a good dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin hit for you. So those of you that are feeling down in the dumps and needing a little boost, you might want to consider a puppy or a dog. Just saying. I have a wonderful golden retriever who I swear he and I have like a major connection. He follows me around. I think he knows that I need his love all the time. So that being said, I really think that it's important for us to go back to basics and think about what it means to smile at someone else and what it means for influencing the mood around you. Have you ever walked into a room and everybody's grumpy? Maybe there's been some bad, gossip going around, or maybe there's just been some bad news released. You can feel that. That's palpable, right? And so if you have a grumpy pants in your office, someone who's just always down in the dumps or always complaining, do you find that you just don't feel good around that person? Well, yeah, because they're bringing you down. Do you have people in your office who are happy and even just maybe they're not the most happy people in the world, but at least they're not grumpy pants all the time? You feel more gravitated towards them? Well, there's a reason, because that person gives you a hit of dopamine and serotonin. Even if, they're not super cheesing it smile, they're still influencing your mood and how you feel. So something to think about in terms of the people that you associate with. Do you have people that you might think about in your life that are energy vampires and bringing you down? They're always grumpy. They're always wanting to complain. They're always just, something's up. Something's bad in their life. Yeah, when you talk to them, you don't feel so good afterwards, do you? You feel like sucked up, like all your energy's been sucked out. Well, there's a reason for that. You want to have people that are going to help to boost your good, feel-good chemicals in your brain, the oxytocin, the serotonin, the dopamine. Because there's even research that's shown that each and every time you smile at a person, that brain coaxes them to return that favor, and then you're going to get this symbiotic relationship that the two of you are going to share these feel-good chemicals. And that research has shown that you activate your dopamine reward centers, you look more attractive to each other, you feel more attractive to yourself, and then you end up living longer and healthier lives. All right, my podcast is over. No, I'm just kidding. But really, this is something that the longevity is linked with having more serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin around in your universe. And so I think it's really important to take this into account. Now, I want to get a little geeky with you for a couple seconds here. I want to talk a little bit about the physiology of smiling. Because I think a lot of us, we can put a smile on when we're not truly 100% happy. It's kind of that like, oh, hey, little smile. But the really good smiles, we're using two main muscles. The zygomaticus major, so this is the one on either side of your cheek. Just think the Joker. If you haven't seen the Joker, Google it. The Joker smile is using the zygomaticus major, this muscle in your cheek that just really brings your mouth upward. Now the other one is around your eye. And the interesting component about this is the orbicularis oculi. And so this is the muscle around your eye. Those two muscles were identified by a French scientist named Duchenne. And he determined that you have to use the zygomaticus major and the orbicularis oculi to give a genuine expression of smiling and happiness. So what that says is because the muscles around your eye, you also smile with your eyes. Interestingly enough, in a study comparing Americans and Asians, Asian folks look at the eyes for a smile before they look at the mouth, and Americans look at the mouth before they look at the eyes. Now, maybe you've heard the term of, I can tell they're happy because their eyes are smiling. That's true. And in this case, all of the research that Duchenne and other folks that have followed him have noted is that truly we smile with our whole face. And that smile with the whole face really gets the body to release oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. It's even like more of a hit when you use those two, the orbicularis, sorry, that's your mouth muscle, the orbicularis oculi. There's a orbicularis oris, that's your mouth muscle. But the orbicularis oculi and the zygomaticus major, those two are the big, huge smile muscles. Now, those ones are that cheese. Oddly enough, Duchenne went on to study so many people that many people were saying that it hurt to smile. And perhaps if any of you have ever had a big day in your life where you had lots of pictures taken of you and you were happy, like a graduation or a wedding, for example, you actually felt your jaw and your cheek muscles hurt because you were smiling so much. And I had that happen for sure on my wedding day. I totally smiled a ton, and my graduation, it felt incredible. And so anyway, sometimes it hurts a little to feel good. Now, oddly enough, this Duchenne guy, back to him again, in 1862, he actually published his research. And so that's a heck of a long time ago, but oddly enough, smiling hurt so much for people back in 1862 that he had to use cadaver heads and muscles to stimulate the cadaver's facial muscles because it hurt so bad. And so there were a lot of people who weren't completing his research with him because of the pain. Man, that sucks that the two muscles that are so useful for us to get a oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine hit when engaged intensely hurt. But you know what? I'm smiling right now. I can feel it hurt a little bit, but it doesn't bother me as much as working. You work out and you get a little bit of a muscle ache. I think it's a good thing. So there you go. It hurts so good in this case. Now, even Darwin, so the father of evolution, even Darwin jumped in on this in 1872. He actually wrote a book on the expression of emotions in man and animals. And he really kind of brought it to the forefront in terms of how facial expressions are products of human evolution rather than lessons of one's culture. And so that's kind of interesting too. Now, another component is babies. Babies have been researched in terms of the recognition of smiles. And at 10 months, for instance, an infant can offer a false smile to an approaching stranger, but will reserve their cheese, so that real big Duchenne's kind of ouchy smile, for the mother. And so even at 10 months of age, we can do a fake smile versus a real smile. Kind of crazy. But the good news is it's been determined that even that fake smile will still give you a little bit of a serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin hit. Now, of course, if I'm going to say, you got to do it right, I do think that we should not be fake and go around giving fake smiles. I think we should genuinely be curious about other people and give them legit real smiles. So I'm not saying to give fake smiles. Now, there was another study done by the University of California at Berkeley, and these folks had research participants analyze college yearbook photos of women. And they gave the yearbook photos a rating in terms of smile ratings and personality data, and in terms of what they suspected these individuals would do in their future. Now, when they compared the people in the photograph with what really did become of these particular folks in the yearbook, they found that folks that had more genuine smiles, so good smiles in their yearbook, had better motivation and emotion, and it was correlated with less divorce and longevity. So that's kind of crazy. I find that pretty impressive. There was another study, same, done by Wayne State University in terms of linking emotional outcomes to biological longevity. And it was done based on professional baseball players in a 1952 yearbook. And oddly enough, they found that the more of an intense smile the individual gave in the photo, the better survival those folks had. So that's kind of crazy. So longevity linked to smiles and linked to more dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, I think, because honestly, those three, that dynamic trio of neurochemicals are amazing for helping you to just feel more calm, relaxed. Like I said before, lower blood pressure, lower heart rate. If you're chill, the longer you're chill, the longer you're going to live. So something to keep in mind. Now, story time for you all. Here's a personal experience in terms of what I've experienced with smiling. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my favorite social experiment that I do in big cities and do in airports. But in particular, I want to kind of explain how it got started. So I grew up going to Catholic grade school. My mom was hardcore Catholic, made me go to church every single Sunday. And I really didn't like church. I was a kid, I just wanted to go play. But there was one aspect of church that I always liked, but I could never really put my finger on it when I was a kid. But now that I'm older, I've kind of nailed it down. And it has to do with my serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin hit that I got when I went to church. So if any of you are out there that are Catholic, and even those of you who are not, there's this part of the church where you shake hands with the people next to you and you say, "Peace be with you." And, as a kid, you love, practicing your handshake and doing all that and high-fiving people and whatnot. But at the same time, you get to look at who's next to you. Because I think a lot of people will be on the bus, a lot of people will be, walking down the street, and they don't really pay attention to who's around them because maybe they're walking with their cell phones in front of them, or maybe they're just trying to look at the ground and, not pay attention to anyone. But I think, unfortunately, that we're missing out a lot. And what the church did for me in this case is get me to look at people next to me and be like, "Hey, what's up?" But also at the same time, give me a little hit of serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. And honestly, after that moment, I felt more comfortable at church. I felt connected to people around me, and I was like, okay, church isn't so bad. It was all that getting up to that moment that I was like, oh, this sucks. But that's my reward, was getting to shake hands with people and saying hey to the people next to me, in front of me, and behind me. And so just one little note to give you a little sense of basically how I decided to start doing my social experiment. So of course, I got older and was like, all right, I liked how I felt when I got to connect with others. I like people. I am social. And I was like, what else can I do to kind of have some fun, but also feel good and make other people feel good? Because I do like people to feel good around me and be happy and comfortable. And so it started probably about 10 years ago. I was bored at an airport and I was walking around because I usually tend to try to see, how long I can walk around before I get on my plane, just because I'm going to be sitting on a plane for a while. And I noticed that people in airports are interesting. I love to people watch, by the way, but people in the airport are interesting. They're either rushing to something or they're kind of like me, wasting time between flights or wasting time because they got there really early or whatever it may be. And so I started to just really look at people and smile. Not stare at them like they were weird or anything, but literally look at them. And I found that a lot of people look stressed, a lot of people look grumpy, some people are happy. And oddly enough, most people, when you smile at them, will smile back. Yes, there are people that won't. I absolutely agree with you in terms of those of you who are out there that are going like, yeah, right. I don't believe it. It's true. There will be people that won't. But oddly enough, you smile at them and then they walk by and, you both go on with your business. If you see them again, chances are they're going to smile at you first before you smile back. And so it's kind of this connection like, hey, I know you. Hey, we said hi. It's kind of cool. Now, I've done this in big cities too. And in particular, one of my most favorite cities to do this experiment was actually in Istanbul, Turkey. And one might be thinking, ooh, that's dangerous, being, the culture difference. Well, you know what? Not so much. Honestly, a smile's a smile, and it translates no matter what nationality, no matter what type of communication in terms of languages. It crosses language barriers. It crosses cultural barriers. Now, of course, there are some instances in which you wouldn't want to do this, and I totally get that. But hey, no matter what, I do think it's worth it, and I think it's kind of fun to play this game because not only are you helping to boost your serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, you're also helping somebody else out. Because even if you just, you're not actually happy, activating those muscles can fool your brain into thinking that you're happy, and you'll release those endorphins anyway. So I've also used this experiment when I'm kind of upset and just down in the dumps. I force myself to smile. And now, while that might be a fake smile, it still tends to work because if you're smiling, you can't help but eventually start to feel better. Now, you might think, okay, this is strange, she's weird. I'm telling you, try it. There's even a University of Kansas study that backs up what I just said. If your brain believes it is feeling happiness, you will not be stressed. You will at least you'll be less stressed than when you first started. You'll feel more chill. So, for all intents and purposes, I really do think that it's worth it to try out this experiment because there's so many people out there that unfortunately just need a little pick-me-up. And I think a lot of us just day in, day out get so entrenched in what we're doing that we don't think about others and we don't think about ourselves and how having a true connection with someone else can brighten your day and their day. And so it's a little bit of the spread the love and neurochemicals. And I would love to have folks try out my experiment, whether you're walking down the street, whether you're in the airport. It's super easy. All you have to do is just look at people and smile. And you don't have to do a super cheese smile. Even just a little crack of a smile is huge. Absolutely huge. If you're out there and you're single right now and you're trying to find somebody, one of the most important things that one can do is really wipe off your RBF. So wipe off your resting crabby face. You really want to smile more. And take that into account in terms of just maybe you need to channel something that's happy, find something silly, whatever it may be. Get yourself to crack the smile and you'll find that you'll be smiling more often. And it's almost contagious. And you know what? People will be gravitated towards you. I've played this experiment before out at bars when I was younger and not married. I've played this experiment, just in general, like I mentioned before, with the airport, with the city, and you find that people will tend to smile back at you, and that's, you're just helping people feel better one step at a time while you're helping yourself. So why the heck did I want to talk all about smiling? Really, it's because I truly believe that most of us are slowly breaking our brains by not getting enough serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin hits. And then we go and look for artificial ways to get those, whether we are trying to, do drugs, unfortunately, or whether we are working on, artificial things that make us feel happy in the moment but aren't really true releasers of serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. So I guess what I'm saying is we're looking for ways to boost these in all the wrong places. Yes, exercise can do that. Yes, food can even do that. Supplements, things of that nature. But one of the most simple things is really connecting with others. And beyond being on the internet, beyond being on social media, really having a true connection with a live individual who's a couple feet away from you or next to you. A little smile can go a long way because one, you never know what someone else is going through and what you can help them with. but you never know, in terms of what it can do for you. So I challenge all of you to try my experiment out. How big or how small doesn't matter. How many minutes, how many hours, go for it. I would love to hear how it goes for you in the comments section on my website at drjkrausend.com. So this is a short one. I'm going to try to keep my next podcast short because I know that some of mine have been really long, and I apologize. So nevertheless, this is it for this podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope that you guys go out, smile at someone, spread the love and neurochemicals, and have a fabulous day, whatever you're doing. Thanks for tuning in to The Health Fix, the podcast all about taking control of your health, rebelling against aging, and having fun every day. A lot of patients ask me, do you think I'm aging too fast? So, I created an evaluation checklist for you to see for yourself. Plus, I created a resource guide to help you slow down the aging process right now. You can find it for free on my website, drjkrausend.com. If you like this podcast, help get the word out to others by liking it and rating it. If you'd like more natural health tips and want to join our Facebook community where I interact daily, click on the Join Group button on our website at drjkrausend.com.